Hey guys, and welcome back for our last kind of properties, the property observes. And the property observers, they come in two different flavors, the will set and did set. And the main difference is just the time where they get called. The property observers, they can be used for many different reasons. They are very handy. They can be used since to change the way that your application works, and they can be used for debugging purposes. I use they quite a lot for many different reasons, and we're going to be going over a few of them on this lesson. So what are property observers? So they respond to change to a variable. So they have these two different flavors that I told you, the will set and did set. So the will set will be called before the variable get changed, and we'll give you a reference to the new value as well, while the did set will be called after the variable gets changed, and also will give you a reference to the old variable. So let's go ahead and let's have a look how it works. So I have a sample code here, and this code comes from the Apple book as well, this is a step counter. So there is a class step counter that's initialized with 0 steps, and every time the number of steps change, it just gives it on the will set, it puts a message say about to set steps 2, and then the values of the step. And the did step, it just do a calculation to tell how many steps gonna be added from. So it does the total step minus the old value of steps and tell how many steps is going to be added. So let's go and jump into the code, and I'm gonna show you how do I normally use this property observers. So I have my playground open here, and the code is already here. So you can get this code on the files to download it on Udemy and follow along. I just put it already here, so you don't have to watch me typing. But basically, the same code you just saw is a step counter class. We have a variable, and this variable has two observers, will set and did set. So like I told you, the will set, it's called before the variable gets set. So it gave us reference to the value that will be set, and this value is called new total steps, but this is a value we can give any name we will want. In this case, it's called new total steps, but we could call, if you want, just new value. And of course here would be new value. So it's just whatever the name we put inside here. When we call new will set, it's the value we have to use here. Okay, and old value as well. When we call did set, we didn't pass any value, but if we call here with old, then we just have to call here old. And old, then Xcode know that when we call did set, old is referring to the old value that the variable had. And if we don't pass any value, the default value is old value, and if we hadn't passed any value here, the default value would be new value. We didn't have to use new value here. So that's how it works. Okay, now we know that. We can go ahead and test. So we have step counter. We create the variable. So if we go and check the value of step counter dot total steps, we see 0. So now let's set total steps to 200. And as soon as we set to 200, we see will set will get called first and say about to set total steps to 200, and then added 200 steps, and these 200 steps came from total steps minus old step values that was 0, so 200. And if we do step count again, it's gonna be, of course, 200. Now let's go ahead and edit another 200 steps. Let's go here. Here let's add 160 steps. Sorry about that. Now what's happening is we are calling the will set, and now it's saying about to set total steps to 360. So it doesn't really matter what the old value was, it's just setting total steps to 360. Now build set is just adding value 160, so it's going total steps was 200, old value was total step is 360, old value was 200, total 160. Let's print these values here one by one so we can actually see total steps, old value. We have it printed 2 times. So there you go, we have first time 200, first time 0, then second time, if I can click it, then we have for the second time total steps 360, old value 200, so total added 160. So there is the explanation over here. And then again for the last round we can have 896, and go about to set total values to 896, then it say edit 536 because 896 minus 360 is 536. We could also edit some logic here where it says, well, once the person give more than 1,000 steps a day, we're gonna stop logging and say have a rest. So when we will set here, we can do a logic here and say if new value greater than 1,000, then new value equal 1000, print have a rest. Sorry, here of course is not new value. Here would be just total steps. So let's say if we want to put a condition where the person can not walk more than 1000 steps a day, and if they do, we should print a message and say, you already walk 1000 steps, please have a rest and stop counting it. So we can add a condition here, say if will set greater than 1000, then, and this will set is immutable variable. Sorry, not will set. So let's say we want to set a limit and we don't want the person to have more than 1000 steps a day, or we want to stop counting after 1000 steps a day. We could add a limit here and say, for example, if, and then the new value greater than 1000, and it's important to notice that this value here, it's a let, so it's a constant. And to check here again, I hold Alt, and that's shown this question mark, and I click on the variable, and that shows the declaration. It's a let, it's a constant. I cannot change this value, but the value of this is going to go inside this variable. So we can access this value using self.total steps, and let's set it to 1000. So that's the maximum value that variable can have, and let's print now you reach the total amount of steps, please have a rest. Now if we come here and try to set these steps to 1200, and try to read it. So what we can do is, if we want to set a limit for this variable, and let's say we don't want the variable to count it over 1,000, this value will set, it will always happen, so there is nothing we can do here to avoid it. So we waited until it gets set, and then once it did get set, we go and we reset back to the value we want. So after here did set, we go ahead and what we do is we say here, before all this logic, we say if old value, total steps, because we are interested in the amount of steps is greater than 1,000, then, and now what I'll do is I'll indent all its text, and to do this I select everything and hold Ctrl and hit I. Xcode will do this for me. So if the amount of steps is greater than 1,000, actually I want to do it is not greater than 1,000, then it does all of this. Else, if it is greater than 1,000, then I want to set it back to 1,000, and I want to also print you should have a rest now. Now, if we go ahead and try to set the steps to, for example, 1,200, and try to read the amount of steps, we will see the steps to 1,000, and it's saying here, you should have a rest now. To be easy to see, we can stop all the others. Start steps from the first one. Then we have 200 steps. So we have here steps 200 as 200 steps. Now if we set steps to 12,000, 1,200, then it gets called, and this gets called you should have a rest now, and the value of steps stops in 1,000, and every time we try to add more steps, that's gonna get called 2, 3, 4 times, and the number of steps never is gonna be over 1,000. And what that's good for debugging, I was saying, so for example, if you have a variable that's getting set, you don't know what's getting set, you can pass the value of the self that's changing the value, and every time the variable gets changed, you can edit breakpoints there. You can print in the values of the variable that's getting changed, so you can see, so you can add print lines, and then you can ask for the debugger here, and you can see all the detail here on the debugger, and you can easily find who is changing your variable that otherwise could be very difficult to find. So this is Robot Observers. I think is one of my favorite properties to use. It helped me a lot. Sometimes I put it property observers to help me with debugging. There is, like I said, 1,000 reasons to use. You can use it during development and then you can take it out if you need to, or it can be part of your code. It's up to you. So let me know how you pretend to use it, all these properties that you learned. Let me know how many of these properties are new for you and how many is going to be part of your arsenal. Let me know as well if you have any questions, if you think I missed any property, if there is any property that you hear and that you want to know about it, and I will prepare some slides and some classes to teach you.